Chosen one. Stop for a moment. Everything around you has been divinely paused so that this word can reach you. This is not coincidence. Heaven has been waiting for this exact second for you to remember who you are. You have been walking through a world that never saw your worth, carrying a heart that others mishandled, and yet you are still standing. That alone is proof of your calling. You were never designed to blend in. That ache of rejection, the silence of unanswered prayers, the loneliness that made you question your worth, none of it was random. The world could not see the value that God placed in you because He hid you on purpose. You were not overlooked. You were protected, hidden in plain sight while your spirit was being trained for destiny. There were times you tried to fit in, weren't there? You adjusted your light so it would not offend those who preferred darkness. You lowered your voice, softened your convictions, tried to please people who were never meant to stay. And every time you did, something inside you broke a little more. But even then, grace refused to let you disappear. Grace pulled you back when you were ready to give up. There's a reason you could never settle. A reason every door that wasn't meant for you kept closing. Heaven was filtering your path. You thought rejection was a wall, but it was actually a gate. God closed what would have destroyed you so He could open what will reveal you. Hear this, your pain has purpose. Every betrayal became a lesson in discernment. Every lonely night taught you to hear His voice more clearly. You've been wondering why your journey had to be so rough. It's because oil is only produced through crushing. And now, the oil of your anointing is beginning to flow. Long before anyone rejected you, God had already chosen you. Before you ever said yes to Him, He had already said yes to you. Your name has been known in heaven since before the foundations of the earth. The world may not understand your assignment, but they will soon witness your transformation. The sacred writings of David remind us in the book of Psalms, chapter 27, verse 10, "Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me." You see, even when people walk away, God's presence walks in. Even when those who were supposed to protect you abandon you, the Lord steps closer. Rejection on earth becomes acceptance in heaven. And what heaven accepts, no human can cancel. You are entering a season where the very things that broke you will bless you. God is about to turn your wounds into wisdom. He's about to make your scars speak so that others who are still bleeding can believe again. The ones who dismissed you will have no choice but to witness your restoration. And when they do, remember you were never proving yourself to them, only fulfilling what God already spoke. The Spirit says this is your awakening. The delay is over. The time of hiding has expired. Step into your identity. Stand tall in your anointing. You are not a mistake. You are a message. You are not forgotten, you are favored. This is the moment where you stop questioning your worth and start walking in your purpose. Everything you lost, everything that left, was making space for what is about to arrive. You will not chase validation anymore. You will carry confirmation. So if these words reach deep into you, if something in your spirit says, "This is for me," then respond. Like this message, share it so another soul who feels unseen might be reminded of who they are, and subscribe so you never miss what heaven is unfolding next. Now, as an act of faith, seal this word with the number 777 in the comments. Not as superstition, but as a prophetic declaration, completion, covenant, and confirmation. Heaven is not rejecting you, it's revealing you. You are stepping into divine reversal. What once broke you will now build you. Heaven is shifting the atmosphere in your favor. Walk boldly, your rejection has become your revelation, your calling unstoppable. Every tear you cried was a seed. Now, the harvest comes with glory. What you lost in silence, God returns in power. Stand firm, chosen soul, this is your rising hour. Grace surrounds you like armor. Nothing can undo what heaven has ordained. Move forward with faith, for you are written into eternity's design, chosen and crowned with purpose. You are walking proof that destiny cannot be delayed. Every scar on your soul now shines like prophecy fulfilled. Rise, chosen one, your story is no longer survival. It is sacred revelation wrapped in glory, unfolding beautifully before all creation. You remember the nights, don't you? The ones where the air felt too heavy to breathe and silence became your only company. You stared into the darkness, hoping for an answer, yet heaven seemed quiet. You wondered if God still remembered your name. You looked at others rising while you stood still, and somewhere deep inside, you whispered, "Why not me?" But the silence was not absence, it was strategy. Heaven often hides its work in stillness. What felt like distance was actually design, while you were questioning your worth. God was crafting your wings. While you were crying over what left, He was clearing space for what's coming. You thought you were losing time, but heaven was saving you from things that would have destroyed you too soon. Rejection has a sound, it echoes differently for the chosen. To most, it's failure. To you, it's prophecy. The pain you endured was not wasted, it was a signal that your purpose required isolation. You weren't abandoned, you were being refined. Consider how many stories began with rejection. Joseph was sold by his brothers. Moses fled from Pharaoh's palace. David was forgotten in the field. Even Jesus was despised and rejected by the very ones He came to save. Rejection has always been the birthplace of revelation. Your tears have been prayers in disguise. Each one carried your name into the heart of God. The loneliness you felt wasn't punishment, it was preparation for encounters that others aren't built to survive. There's a depth to you that could only be formed in silence. As revealed in the book of Psalms, chapter 118, verse 22. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. The world may have dismissed you, but heaven designed you as foundation. What others overlooked, God intends to elevate. You are not a spare piece, you are structural, chosen to bear weight others could not carry. Think of it, the rejection that once broke you is now building you. The doors that shut were never meant to confine you. They redirected you toward destiny. The isolation that hurt was the cocoon of transformation. Every no from man made room for the yes of God. You've carried questions in your heart, why certain friendships faded, why your loyalty was met with betrayal, why your effort went unseen. But if those things had lasted, they would have limited your future. God allowed people to misunderstand you so that you would learn to be understood by Him alone. Sometimes rejection teaches you to stop begging for tables where you don't belong. It pushes you toward altars instead. You were never meant to dine with those who doubt you, you were meant to commune with the one who called you. When you stood crying over what left, heaven whispered, "This must go so that you can grow." You thought you were being emptied, but you were being expanded, and you were being taught how to stand when applause fades, how to believe when no one claps, how to trust when everything trembles. That kind of strength can't be borrowed, it must be birthed. There is a divine paradox about rejection. What leaves you is often what was never for you. You kept trying to revive seasons that had expired, but the God who chooses you also protects you by pruning you. He removes the temporary so you can inherit the eternal. And soon, yes, soon the same places that close their doors will watch you rise from a distance, not out of pride, but out of purpose. You will stand as living proof that what men reject, God resurrects, so lift your head. The world's rejection was heaven's recognition. You were seen the entire time. The potter never leaves his clay, he only reshapes it. The pressure you felt was his hand. You're not behind. You're being built. You're not unloved. You're being positioned. You are not forgotten, you are being focused. And the very pain that made you question God will soon become the evidence that He was with you all along. You will look back and thank God for every closed door. What you thought was delay was direction. Every detour carried destiny. Every disappointment birthed discernment for what is now unfolding. Your tears have turned to oil, your sorrow to strength. Heaven rewrote your story while you stood in silence. You were never abandoned, only anointed in private for public purpose. Rejection prepared you for revelation. The world's no became God's yes. Walk forward without fear. The season of being overlooked has ended, and the light of divine recognition rests upon you now. You felt it all along, the quiet pull that set you apart. Even when you tried to fit in, something inside resisted. You could mimic their laughter but never match their spirit. You've always known, deep down, that you were made for something different, something divine. The ache of being misunderstood wasn't punishment, it was prophecy. You were born with vision others couldn't see. That's why they called you strange. They sensed something about you they couldn't define. The more you tried to explain yourself, the more isolated you felt. But that isolation was never rejection from heaven, it was separation for holiness. You were being set apart before you even realized it. The pain that others mocked became the pathway God used to mark you. Your tears were not wasted, they were counted. Your heart was being molded into something rare, something compassionate yet courageous. You've been walking through seasons that demanded faith when you had none left, and yet you kept walking. That's the proof of calling. Many didn't understand that your silence wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. You learned that not every battle deserves your breath. Some things are best answered by growth, and while others were busy talking, you were busy transforming. There's a sacred weight to your journey. Every rejection was building endurance. Every misunderstanding was sharpening discernment. The world sees what you lost, but heaven sees what you gained: resilience, wisdom, and spiritual authority. As recorded in the scroll of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 7. Instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion, and instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance. Do you see it now? The rejection was never random, it was redirection. The pain that embarrassed you will become the platform that empowers you. The things you thought would break you are becoming the very foundation God will use to elevate you. You are not behind, you are being refined. God has been carving your character in the shadows so that when the light shines, you won't crumble under attention. The silence was His classroom. The rejection was His teaching tool. The delay was His design. There is a holy confidence rising in you now. You no longer need everyone to understand you, because you understand who you are. You've learned to walk with peace even when surrounded by doubt. You've learned that divine purpose rarely comes with public approval. You carry something sacred that cannot be explained to those still bound by ordinary thinking. Stop apologizing for being intense, deep, passionate, and purposeful. The fire in you is not too much. It's exactly enough for what you're called to do. And now heaven leans in again, asking for your response. Not for performance, but for confirmation. This is the moment where your spirit must speak louder than your fear. Type these words below: I choose light. You're not just typing, you're testifying. Those 3 words are a declaration that you will no longer conform to the world's rejection, but walk boldly in divine acceptance. When you say, I choose light, you're saying, I choose healing over hiding. I choose purpose over people-pleasing. I choose to keep shining, even when misunderstood. That choice is powerful. It's a spiritual turning point. The darkness that once defined you loses authority when you declare where you stand. Every moment of rejection becomes redemption when you choose light. This is your alignment moment. Heaven isn't waiting for perfection, it's waiting for permission. The moment you type those words, Mauda, you are agreeing with your destiny, aligning with the same power that raised you from despair. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to illuminate. The world's rejection was the signal that your light was too bright for small spaces. Step into your calling with courage. The rejection ends here. The rising begins now. When you write, I choose light. Heaven records it as covenant. You are declaring that darkness will no longer dictate your decisions. It is more than words, it is warfare. A bold reminder that your spirit belongs to illumination, not despair. Choosing light means choosing truth when lies are louder, peace when storms rage, and grace when bitterness beckons. You are aligning your soul with divine clarity, declaring that every shadow must now bow to the radiance of your purpose. So type it with faith, I choose light. You are not begging for breakthrough, you are becoming it. Every letter carries authority. Every word ignites transformation. Your declaration shifts atmosphere. Your surrender summons heaven's response. Light has officially claimed you. When you whisper, I choose light, the heavens echo your courage. Every shadow that clung to your name releases its grip. You rise, radiant and relentless, carrying the brilliance of purpose that no darkness can ever silence. You have walked through seasons that stripped you bare. Everything you thought you needed was taken. People you trusted turned away. Opportunities you believed were permanent vanished overnight. It felt like life was unraveling thread by thread, and all you could do was watch. But now, as you look back, you can see the pattern in the pain, the way heaven weaved purpose through every unraveling moment. There is something sacred about losing everything and still standing. It is the moment your identity detaches from what you have and reconnects to who you truly are. God used those empty seasons to teach you that what He gives cannot be stolen and what He withholds cannot destroy you. You learned that survival itself is a form of worship. You were not being punished. You were being purified. Every disappointment was fire, burning away the illusions that held you hostage. Every rejection peeled off another layer of pride or dependence until only authenticity remained. That authenticity is your anointing. The world wants performance, but heaven wants purity, and you've been learning to live without masks. In the quiet moments when you felt invisible, heaven was celebrating your endurance. Angels took note of the times you refused to retaliate, the times you forgave when it hurt, the times you kept praying even when answers didn't come. That's what separates the chosen from the crowd, not perfection, but perseverance. You learned that divine strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it's the trembling hand that still reaches upward, the tear-streaked face that still turns toward light, the weary soul that still says, I believe. That's the kind of strength that moves heaven. When you were emptied, God was creating capacity. When you were waiting, He was arranging divine timing. You thought nothing was happening, but the roots of your faith were growing deeper. You were being prepared for a weight of glory that shallow soil could never sustain. And though you felt forsaken, heaven was closer than ever. The Spirit of God was not watching from a distance. He was whispering in the silence. Every unanswered prayer became a conversation between your soul and eternity. You were being trained to hear God beyond blessings, to recognize His voice even when His hand seemed still. The ancient writings in the book of Job, chapter 23, verse 10, reveal this mystery. But He knows the way that I take when He has tested me. I will come forth as gold. That's exactly what is happening within you. The testing wasn't meant to destroy, it was meant to distinguish. You are emerging from the fire not bitter but brighter. The pain did not erase your faith, it exposed its depth. You now understand that rejection was never about your worth. It was about your weight. You carry something heavy: glory, wisdom, endurance, and heaven had to make sure your foundation could hold it. You were not being delayed. You were being developed. Every unanswered question has been leading you toward revelation. You've discovered that peace doesn't come from having everything go your way. It comes from knowing that even when nothing makes sense, you are still in God's hands. That truth alone is your freedom. And as you move forward, you will notice something shifting inside you. The same situations that once broke you will no longer have power. The same voices that once wounded you will lose volume. You will walk with a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken because it was not built by human approval. It was built in the furnace of rejection. The beauty of being chosen is that your worth is not determined by who accepts you. It is defined by who created you. God looked at you in your weakest moment and still said, "Mine." He saw every failure and still planned a future filled with promise. You are not an afterthought in His story. You are a centerpiece of His redemption plan. So take a breath and release the weight of needing to be understood. You are not chosen to be liked. You are chosen to be light. Every pain, every pause, every heartbreak has been preparing you for this realization: you are becoming gold. And when gold emerges from the fire, it doesn't apologize for shining. Neither should you. You have been refined, not reduced. What once felt like loss now gleams as proof of purpose. The fire that tested you became the light that reveals you. Rise without hesitation. You are the evidence of endurance, the echo of divine craftsmanship. The storm ended, but your strength remains unbreakable, undeniable, unshaken. You've walked through storms that would have silenced others, yet you kept moving. You've learned how to breathe in the middle of chaos, how to find hope in the ashes. That's the mark of the chosen, strength disguised as surrender. And now, something within you is awakening again. You can feel it, can't you? The gentle stirring that says, "It's time." The time has come to rise from the shadows, to let your story breathe. The rejection, the pain, the losses, they were not the end. They were the shaping of your testimony. Every scar carries a story of survival. Every bruise hides a whisper of grace. You've been walking through a refining fire, and now you're glowing from within. Sometimes God uses broken things to show perfect light, like stained glass. Your life lets His radiance shine through every fracture. You thought the cracks meant you were ruined, but they were actually windows for His glory. That's why you can still love after betrayal, still give after loss, still trust after heartbreak. It's because divine resilience lives inside you. And just as you have been strengthened, you now become strength for others. What you've endured isn't only your story, it's your ministry. Every time you speak encouragement, someone else's soul catches fire. Every time you share your light, darkness loses ground. You've become a living message, and heaven delights in watching you shine. Scripture tells us in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." You see, every good thing you pour out will return multiplied. The kindness, the compassion, the courage, they are seeds in sacred soil. Your words, your faith, your giving heart, they are watering fields you cannot yet see. One day, those fields will bloom, and generations will find rest in the shade of what you've planted. So as you listen, Let your heart stay open. These messages, the words that reach you when no one else understands, are built with prayer, time, and quiet faith. They exist because heaven still wants to reach hearts like yours. And if you've ever found comfort, strength, or renewal in these words, consider how you might help keep this light burning. Not by obligation, never by force. Think of it as adding another log to a fire that warms many souls. Every small gesture, a like that says, "I see the light," a share that carries that light farther, a subscribe that keeps you near the flame. Each act adds oxygen to the fire that refuses to die. And if your heart feels that gentle tug to go beyond, you may give not out of duty, but as one who pours a drop of oil into a lamp so it can keep shining through the night. Every offering, no matter how small, becomes part of the glow that reaches another weary soul. Your support is not payment, it is partnership. Together we build what words alone cannot. Together we create a space where the rejected find belonging, where the weary rediscover faith, where the forgotten remember they are chosen. If you've ever been touched by these messages, if you've ever felt that divine spark whisper through your heart, you already know what this means. Support doesn't always look like money. Sometimes it's prayer. Sometimes it's sharing the message so it reaches the one who's about to give up. Sometimes it's simply showing up, listening, and letting your heart be open. But if you do feel moved to give, let it be because you believe in what this light can do. Your donation is not a coin dropped into a jar, it's a seed placed into eternal soil, a single flame joining a sea of candles. Let it be an act of worship, not transaction. Let it be your way of saying, "This message matters." Keep speaking, keep shining. You are not required, you are invited. You are not pressured, you are part of something eternal. When you give from a willing heart, heaven always gives back, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. That's how divine cycles of generosity begin, not through guilt, but through grace. So, as you close your eyes tonight, remember this: each like is a spark, each share a torch, each subscription a heartbeat of community, and each donation a drop of oil in the lamp of light. You are both the receiver and the giver of that flame. When you give, you are not losing, you are multiplying light. And light, once released, never returns empty. You've come far, further than most even realize. The roads behind you are marked with dust and tears, yet also lined with quiet victories that no one clapped for. There were days you moved forward with trembling hands, carrying hope like a fragile candle in a storm. And still, somehow, the flame never died. That's what makes you different. You refused to let the fire go out, even when the world mocked your faith or ignored your kindness. Something holy inside you kept whispering, "Keep going." You didn't know it then, but heaven was measuring every step, counting every tear, recording every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness. You see, chosen ones are built in silence, not spotlight. You were being prepared in places where no one could see you. While others chased applause, you learned endurance. While others sought comfort, you discovered calling. The lonely nights weren't wasted, they were divine appointments where heaven poured wisdom into your spirit. You've wondered why the pressure has been so heavy lately, why the warfare feels so personal. It's because the enemy can sense what's coming. The higher the calling, the harder the resistance. But don't be afraid. Every battle you face now is proof of the crown that's being forged for you. The sacred writings of Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 6. Speak directly into this moment. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Take those words deep into your heart. You have not been left to fight alone. Even when you can't feel him, God walks beside you, steady, faithful, and unshakable. You're standing in the tension between pain and promise. But you will not break. This season is not punishment, it's positioning. You're standing on holy ground, even if it looks like chaos. Every trial you're facing is part of a larger design. Heaven doesn't waste pain, it repurposes it. The pressure you feel is producing power, and that power will soon manifest as purpose. When you feel weary, remember that even warriors rest. You don't have to be unbreakable to be chosen. You just have to stay surrendered. God never asked you to carry it all. He asked you to trust him through it all. Every time you whisper, "I still believe," heaven moves closer. You've carried more than most, yet you continue to shine. You've faced closed doors, cold hearts, and cruel words, but still you rise. That's not pride, it's prophecy. It's evidence that something divine has taken root inside of you. You are no longer surviving, you are transforming. There's a shift happening in your spirit. You can feel it, the heaviness beginning to lift, the confusion slowly clearing. It's not because the storm stopped, it's because you've learned how to walk through it differently. You've learned that peace isn't found in the absence of trouble, but in the presence of trust. Soon, what has been hidden will be revealed. The season of obscurity will give way to recognition, not by men, but by heaven itself. Those who questioned you will have no choice but to witness what God has been building quietly inside your heart. But before you step into that next chapter, heaven invites you to respond, to mark this moment with faith. Not as ritual, but as remembrance. If this message resonates deep within you, if something in your spirit is whispering, "This is for me," then make it visible. Comment 444 below, not as a number, but as a declaration. The number 444 symbolizes divine stability, the four corners of the earth under God's order, the building of unshakable foundations. When you write 444, you are declaring, "I am established, I am anchored. My life rests upon the rock that cannot be moved." It is the sound of heaven's architecture taking shape in your world's structure. Strength and steadfastness. Those three digits echo like pillars being set into place beneath your feet. They mean your wandering is ending, your roots are deepening, and your faith is finding form. So when you type 44404, you are not just commenting, you are constructing. You are agreeing with heaven's blueprint, aligning your spirit with the eternal foundation God has laid for you. You are saying, "My heart is steady, my hands are ready, my house is built on truth." Let that number become a seal over your journey. May every 4 represent a corner of divine covering, north, south, east, and west, wherever you go. Grace surrounds you. The world may have rejected you, but heaven has established you. You are no longer drifting, you are rooted, strengthened, and chosen. You've waited longer than you expected. You've prayed, believed, hoped, and still, the door didn't open. You've watched others move ahead, stepping into their breakthroughs, while you stood still, asking quietly, "When will it be my turn?" Yet what you couldn't see was that the delay wasn't denial, it was divine protection. God was hiding you, not from opportunity, but from premature exposure. There is a rhythm to divine timing. Heaven moves differently from the world. The world rushes, God refines. The world celebrates arrival. Heaven honors preparation. You were not forgotten, you were being formed. The hidden years were the classroom where character was built, where endurance was carved into your spirit. If God had answered you earlier, you might have celebrated before you were ready to sustain the blessing. Some doors were closed not to punish you, but to protect what's being prepared behind them. The pause wasn't silence, it was strategy. The longer the waiting, the greater the weight of glory that follows. It's like a seed underground. For months, maybe years, there's no visible progress. The soil looks undisturbed, but beneath that stillness, roots are spreading deep, forming a foundation strong enough to bear fruit that lasts. That's you. You are that seed. You've been buried but not forgotten, hidden but growing. Many mistake hiddenness for abandonment, but hiddenness is heaven's seal of authenticity. It means you're being developed for something that can't be rushed. The anointing that comes easily fades quickly, but the anointing that's formed in silence endures through storms. You've been learning to trust the unseen hand, the quiet whisper that says, "Not yet." When nothing seemed to move, you learned to be still. When no one believed in you, you learned to believe anyway. When plans failed, you learned that peace isn't found in control, it's found in surrender. That's what the hidden years were for, to teach you how to rest in God even when results are invisible. The prophet's words recorded in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, still echo for every chosen heart. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Though it lingers, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. That verse carries the quiet strength of certainty. Your vision is not lost. It's simply waiting for its appointed time. There are promises tied to your name that cannot be erased by time or circumstance. They are suspended in eternity, waiting for alignment. Sometimes God keeps you hidden until the noise dies down, until the counterfeit versions fade, so that when you emerge, no one can mistake what's real. You were not overlooked, you were preserved. God has been developing depth in you while the surface world obsessed over speed. Hidden seasons strip away the illusion of control. They teach you to live without the constant need for validation. They show you who your real anchor is. When applause fades and affirmation disappears, you learn that His presence is enough. You stop chasing moments and start cultivating maturity. You've learned to live in rhythm with heaven, to wait without growing bitter, to trust without needing proof. That's rare. That's the kind of faith that can move mountains because it's not built on signs, it's built on surrender. The delay you once hated has been your greatest teacher. It taught you that silence can be sacred. It taught you that growth often looks like stillness. And most of all, it taught you that when nothing seems to change, God is often changing you. What's forming inside you now is something stable, something holy. You no longer crave quick results because you've seen what rushing costs. You would rather be ready than early. You would rather be anointed than applauded. That's the wisdom that only hiddenness can give. And now, you're standing at the edge of that long wait. The air feels different, lighter, charged with expectancy. Heaven is whispering again. Not wait, but watch. You've been underground long enough. The season of hidden growth is turning into a season of visible fruit. But when the breakthrough comes, you won't forget these years. You won't despise the silence that shaped you. You'll carry it like a secret strength, a quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout. Because the hidden ones who endure the furnace of patience become the steady ones who can carry fire without burning out. So don't rush, don't panic. Everything that is yours is already written. Every delay was preparation. Every detour was direction. You are stepping into divine timing, the place where everything you've been waiting for will finally align, not too early, not too late, but right on time. There was a moment when you almost let go. You don't talk about it often, but you remember. The wait became too much, the silence too long. It felt like every prayer was bouncing off the ceiling. You told yourself you were tired of believing for things that never seemed to come. You smiled for others, but your heart was running on empty. And yet, here you are, still standing, still breathing, still hoping, even when hope feels fragile. That alone is evidence that mercy stepped in, because somewhere between your last tear and your next breath, heaven whispered, "Not yet. You will not break here." You've walked through the kind of battles that leave invisible scars. People saw your strength, but few knew the nights you nearly collapsed under the weight of it all. You learned how to smile while bleeding, how to encourage others while feeling forgotten yourself. But every hidden wound has been an altar, each one a place where God met you quietly, healing what words could not reach. Pain has a strange way of refining faith. It strips away everything superficial, leaving only what's eternal. In those dark nights, your heart learned how to hold onto light even when it couldn't see it. You discovered that faith isn't a feeling, it's a decision. It's choosing to stand even when standing hurts. At your breaking point, mercy entered the room. It wasn't loud. It didn't come with thunder. It came as peace. The kind of peace that doesn't make sense, the kind that wraps around you like a warm cloak when everything inside feels cold. The peace that whispers, "You're not finished yet." That's the miracle of endurance. It's not that you avoided pain, it's that you survived it. You endured what others thought would end you. And somehow, through the crushing, compassion grew where bitterness could have taken root. You didn't come out harder. You came out holier. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 28. "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." That verse is not a cliche, it's a lifeline. Every heartbreak, every closed door, every unanswered prayer was quietly working together for your good. You couldn't see it then, but heaven was rearranging your story, turning what looked like tragedy into testimony. Sometimes, God allows you to lose things you thought you couldn't live without to show you that He is the only one you truly need. It's not cruelty, it's clarity. He's been teaching you the art of dependence, the kind that produces peace instead of panic. You've been walking through a refining process like gold in a furnace. Fire doesn't destroy gold, it reveals its purity. The same fire that burned your plans has purified your purpose. What remains after the flames is what's real faith that doesn't fade. Love that doesn't fear, hope that doesn't give up. You might still feel the ache of what you lost, and that's okay. Healing isn't forgetting, it's remembering without pain. You are learning to look at your past without bitterness and see it through the lens of grace. You no longer ask, "Why did this happen?" but instead, "What did this teach me?" That shift alone is evidence of growth. The truth is, you've already overcome more than you realize. You've faced rejection and didn't let it redefine you. You've been betrayed, but didn't let it make you bitter. You've been misunderstood, yet you kept your heart pure. That's victory. That's resilience in its truest form. And now, something is changing in the atmosphere around you. The heaviness that once clung to you is loosening. The fog that clouded your vision is clearing. You are not the same person who entered the fire, you are the refined version, the restored one. The season of breaking birthed something sacred, a deeper intimacy with God, a stronger discernment, a quiet confidence that no storm can shake. You've learned to find beauty in ashes and strength in surrender. That is the mark of a chosen soul. So, breathe deeply. You're allowed to rest now. You're allowed to let peace rebuild what pain tore down. What tried to end you has actually elevated you. The breaking point was never your burial. It was your birthing place. You didn't lose yourself in the pain. You found the version of you that was always meant to emerge. And this time, you won't be defined by what happened to you, but by how you rose from it. You can feel it now, the atmosphere shifting around you. The pain that once weighed like chains is turning into fuel. Every moment of rejection, every closed door, every tear shed in silence was not wasted. Heaven has been rewriting your story behind the scenes. What once seemed like a curse is being revealed as preparation. There's something about divine reversals that catches everyone by surprise. God loves to use the unlikely, the overlooked, the rejected to display His glory. You were never meant to compete with others. You were meant to confuse the enemy with your comeback. The world expected your silence, but heaven expects your rise. Every battle you fought has been collecting interest in the vault of heaven. The more you lost, the more you're about to recover. The tables are turning, not by your strength, but by divine design. It's not revenge, it's redemption. God is not giving you what you deserve, He's giving you what He promised. You've been through enough to know that this next season isn't about proving anything. You have nothing left to prove. You've learned that the greatest power lies in peace. When you stop chasing validation, you make room for vindication. And heaven always vindicates its chosen ones. The sacred words recorded in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 15, paint your story perfectly. Though you were forsaken and hated with no one traveling through, I will make you the everlasting pride and the joy of all generations. That's the essence of reversal. What was once your shame becomes your song. The very places where you were humiliated will be the stages where you are celebrated. The same mouths that spoke against you will speak of you, and you won't even need to defend yourself. Your transformation will do the talking. You are entering a divine unveiling. The covering of obscurity is lifting. Heaven is pulling back the curtain, and your light, refined, tested, unbreakable, is about to shine in places you once only dreamed of. The time of being overlooked has expired. The silence that felt like punishment was actually preservation. Those who thought you were finished are about to see you flourish. But remember this, your rise isn't for revenge, it's for revelation. God is raising you not to say, "Look at me," but to say, "Look at Him." Every blessing you receive will point back to the one who carried you through the storm. Your life is becoming a message. Every trial was a sentence, every loss a paragraph. And now the author is writing the chapter called Restoration. You're not who you used to be, you're stronger, softer, wiser, and more dangerous to darkness than ever before. The season ahead will demand humility, not hesitation. You will walk through doors that once denied you, but this time with grace, not pride. You will extend mercy to those who wronged you, not because they earned it, but because you've been transformed by it. Reversal doesn't mean returning to what was, it means being restored to what always should have been. You are stepping into alignment with your original design, the version of you that heaven saw before pain tried to rewrite the script. And now, as this word finds you, heaven asks for one small act of agreement. Not for attention, but for affirmation. Not for ritual, but for remembrance. If this message resonates with your spirit, if you can feel that something sacred is shifting within, then comment below these 3 simple words. It is done. Because when you say it is done, you are not just typing, you are testifying. You are agreeing with heaven that the reversal has already begun. You are declaring that the waiting season has ended, that every seed planted in tears is now breaking through the soil. When you write, "It is done," you're saying, "I no longer question if God can, I know He already has." You're releasing control, closing the chapter of striving, and stepping into the reality of fulfillment. These 3 words carry power. They are not the end of the story, they are the turning of the page. The reversal is here. The promise is alive. The chosen have risen. When you declare it is done, you're not begging heaven, you're agreeing with it. Those words unlock completion. They echo the final breath of Christ on the cross, the sound of victory whispered into your unfinished places, and you're saying, the battle is over, the striving ends here. You're releasing the weight of worry and stepping into divine rest. The storm hasn't disappeared, but its authority over you has. Heaven calls your situation finished because grace has spoken first. Type it not as a comment, but as a covenant. It is done. Let those 3 words seal your faith, settle your heart, and summon the fulfillment of every promise written over your name. You've reached a turning point, haven't you? You can feel it in the stillness of your heart, a soft pull, a quiet knowing that something sacred is unfolding. The heaviness that once clung to you is loosening. The long nights of questioning have become mornings of quiet trust. You're not the same person who began this journey. You've changed not suddenly but steadily, like the sky shifts from night to dawn. You have become the sunrise after your own storm. You shine, not because everything is perfect, but because you've learned that light doesn't wait for circumstances, it simply rises. The rejection that once felt unbearable has become the soil for your resilience. The heartbreak that once broke you has become the rhythm of your compassion. You now understand that every loss was a lesson in love, every silence a school of faith. Heaven has been building something eternal inside you, an inner cathedral where peace resides. And as you grow, your light reaches others. Your story becomes a torch in someone else's darkness. What you've walked through is not meant to end with you. It's meant to continue through you. That's why these words find you now. Because what you carry is not small, it's sacred. You are part of something far bigger than a single message, a single moment. You are part of a movement of light, a river of hope that keeps flowing through every heart that listens and believes again. As spoken through the writings of Proverbs of chapter 11, verse 25, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. That's heaven's law. What you pour out always returns. The love you give, the hope you share, the kindness you release, they all come back, multiplied and matured. You felt this before, that invisible cycle of grace, how giving never leaves you empty. So if these words have reached your heart, if they've reminded you that you are chosen, seen, and still called, then help the light travel farther. Like this message as a way of saying, I stand with the light. Share it, so someone else who is silently drowning might see a reflection of their own worth. Subscribe to stay connected to this flow of faith, because sometimes all it takes is one sentence to remind you that God still speaks. And if your heart feels moved, not pressured but inspired, you may even choose to give quietly, freely, from love, not obligation. Think of it not as payment, but as participation. Your giving is a seed, not a requirement. Imagine a field at sunset, the kind of field where golden light touches every blade of grass. Every small seed planted there carries the promise of future harvest. That's what your offering becomes, a single seed in a sacred field, growing into fruit that others will eat from without even knowing your name. Or imagine a lantern glowing in the dark. Every donation is another drop of oil poured into that lantern. It keeps burning when the night grows colder. It keeps shining for the ones who haven't yet found their way home. No one is asking you to give out of guilt. True giving is never guilt-driven, it's gratitude-driven, and it's the heart whispering, "This touched me. Let me help it touch someone else." When you give, you join a circle of unseen hearts, a community bound not by religion but by resonance. You become part of the invisible network of light that carries hope to corners of the earth algorithms can't reach. Your hand might seem small, but when it moves in love, it changes everything. Every like, every share, every act of generosity is another heartbeat in this living story. None of it is wasted. None of it goes unnoticed. Heaven measures intention, not amount. A small flame willingly shared can light an entire horizon. You are part of this horizon now. You're not just a listener, you're a lighthouse. You're not just receiving the word, you're releasing it. Each action you take, no matter how simple, becomes a whisper of faith echoing into eternity. The light continues. So, if this message stirred something deep within you, follow that gentle nudge, like not for attention but for alignment. Share, not for numbers but for souls. Subscribe, not for content but for connection. And if you're led to donate, let it be your drop of oil, one more flame to keep the light alive. Because when we each bring our small light together, darkness doesn't stand a chance. You've come this far, chosen one, not by luck, but by divine leading. Now help the light that found you find another. The miracle multiplies through willing hearts. There are certain battles you never signed up for, yet somehow you found yourself standing in the middle of them. You didn't ask to be misunderstood. You didn't choose the betrayal. You didn't expect the heartbreak. But they came swift, sharp, and personal. And though those moments felt like chaos, they were actually the proving grounds for your identity. The truth is, the enemy always attacks early what heaven anoints deeply. He saw your potential before you did. He recognized your light before you had words for it. That's why your warfare started young, why your peace has been fought for, and why your mind has been the battlefield of unseen wars. The opposition has never been random, it's been targeted. You are a threat to darkness, not because of what you have, but because of what you carry. You've always carried something rare, an inner sensitivity to the voice of God, a heart that feels deeply, a spirit that discerns what others ignore. Those traits made you different, sometimes even lonely. You could sense storms before they arrived, feel burdens others couldn't name, and see truth through layers of disguise. But the same sensitivity that made you spiritual also made you vulnerable. You've been wounded in places most people can't see. And yet, despite every attack, you've never lost your light. It flickered, yes, but it never went out. Every attempt to silence you only made your voice wiser, your compassion deeper. Pain became your prophet. Suffering became your teacher. You've learned the language of the Spirit through the grammar of struggle. The enemy tried to confuse your identity by making your pain look like punishment. But now you can see it was preparation. Every disappointment forged discernment. Every loss birthed empathy. You were being shaped into someone who could not only survive darkness but bring others out of it. The prophet Jeremiah once spoke words that echo for every chosen soul wrestling with their calling. In the book of Jeremiah, chapter 20, verse 9, it is written, "But if I say, I will not mention his word or speak any more in his name, his word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bone. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot." That's what it feels like to carry a calling you can't escape. Even when you try to withdraw, something inside pushes you forward. Even when you want silence, fire speaks. You've felt that, haven't you? The divine pull that won't let you disappear, no matter how tired you become. It's not ambition, it's assignment. You are tethered to heaven's purpose. That's why ordinary life has never satisfied you. You could never fully settle in comfort zones that others find home. Something inside you always whispered, "There's more." And there is. But the more requires battles. Purpose always does. Every great light draws resistance, not to destroy it, but to prove it cannot be extinguished. You faced warfare in your mind, voices telling you you're not enough, that you failed too many times, that your mistakes have disqualified you. But those are lies spoken by fear, not truth declared by faith. God's choice was never based on your perfection, it was based on His plan. You're still chosen, still marked, still called. The enemy can bruise your confidence, but he cannot steal your identity. You've fought invisible wars with unseen weapons, prayers whispered through tears, faith held together by thread, worship raised while the heart bled. But that's what heaven calls courage. The angels have seen your midnight battles, and the Father has heard your whispered yes. This is what it means to be chosen, not that the path is easy, but that your presence carries authority in difficult places. You walk into chaos and peace follows. You speak into confusion and clarity begins to form. You are a carrier of atmosphere, a vessel of divine order. That's why hell has always tried to silence you. But now, you're beginning to understand the truth. Darkness fears you more than you ever feared it. You are not fighting for victory, you're fighting from it. The war was won before you ever stepped onto the battlefield. The cross sealed your authority. All you're doing now is enforcing what's already finished. The next time you feel surrounded by battle, remember, light doesn't fight darkness, it simply shines. Your job is not to prove your worth, but to protect your peace. Keep shining. Keep believing. The weapons formed against you will not prosper because the hand that formed you holds you still. The identity that was once attacked is now anchored. You know who you are and whose you are. And that truth, unshakable, unbending, unstoppable, is what makes you victorious. There's a crown forming over your life, a crown no hand on earth can take away. You've walked through valleys so deep that most would have turned back, yet you pressed on. You've endured seasons that felt endless, but heaven was using each one to shape the weight of glory now resting upon you. You may not see it, but you are glowing. The same hands that once reached upward in surrender are about to carry victory. This is your crowning season. It doesn't arrive with noise or applause. It begins quietly, with the realization that you have been refined for royalty. The crown you're receiving isn't made of gold and jewels, but of endurance, humility, and faith that refuse to die. It is the evidence that you did not just survive, you were transformed. Heaven does not crown perfection, it crowns perseverance. Every time you chose love over resentment, grace over revenge, and faith over fear, heaven added another gem to your crown. You are earning unseen glory while walking through visible pain. The writings of the Apostle James, chapter 1, verse 12, remind us, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him. That's the promise: you will receive the crown of life. Not a symbol of status, but a testimony of survival. The world gave you rejection, God is giving you restoration. The world took your peace, God is returning your power. This crown is not a decoration, it's an assignment. You've been entrusted with influence, even if it doesn't look like it yet. Your words carry weight now, because they've been purified through pain. People will listen differently when you speak, because your voice carries the echo of experience. Your story has authority. You no longer speak from theory, you speak from encounter. You've walked through the fire and learned that God doesn't just save from flames, He stands in them. That realization changes everything. You no longer fear the fire, you understand it. You know that if it comes again, it will only refine you further. And now, heaven invites you to take your place not above others, but among them, shining as proof that brokenness and beauty can coexist. You are not being crowned for being flawless. You're being crowned for being faithful. You may feel unworthy, but that's exactly why grace chose you. Grace specializes in taking the overlooked and making them overcomers. It crowns those who stayed when others ran, who believed when others doubted, who prayed when others quit. That's you. You've been marked not by luck, but by loyalty to the call, to the mission, to the voice that never stopped whispering. You are mine. There is a quiet coronation happening in the spirit. You won't need to announce it. Those with eyes to see will recognize it. The way you carry yourself will shift. The heaviness will lift. The authority you now walk in will be undeniable. And to mark this holy moment, heaven asks you to respond not to earn the crown, but to acknowledge it. To say, I receive it. If this word stirs something within you, if you know this is your season to wear what you've endured, then make it visible. Comment 555 below. The number 555 carries the sound of divine grace multiplied, symbolizing transition, transformation, and completion of a long refining cycle. It is heaven's signal that the wilderness is ending and the promise is unfolding. When you write 555, you're declaring, I accept my crown. I receive the grace for this new chapter. I no longer resist the change, I embrace it. Each 5 represents the hand of God Father, Son, Spirit, promise, and purpose resting upon you. It means you are covered completely, held entirely, and blessed abundantly, and so type it not as superstition but as surrender. When you declare 555, you are stepping into your divine coronation with humility and honor. The crown is ready, and so are you. When you comment 555, you are not seeking favor, you are recognizing it. Those numbers echo grace upon grace, signaling the end of wandering and the beginning of walking in promise. Heaven reads your faith before your words. Every 5 resounds like a heartbeat of divine mercy, 5 fingers of God's hand resting gently over your life, shielding, shaping, and sending you forward. It's not coincidence, it's covenant. So write 555 as a quiet yes. You're declaring, my refining is finished, my rising has begun. You're choosing to wear the unseen crown, to walk with royal humility, radiant with purpose and peace. You've been chosen to rebuild what others destroyed. The pieces that others walked past in disappointment are the very fragments heaven placed in your hands. It's no accident that you have always been drawn to broken things, people, dreams, situations that others call impossible. You were never meant to escape the ruins, you were meant to restore them. That's the hidden purpose behind every storm you've survived. You now carry the empathy of one who knows what it means to be shattered, and the strength of one who knows how to rise again. You can see potential in ashes because you've seen God bring beauty from your own. The pain that once made you question your value has become the foundation of your calling. Restoration doesn't start with resources, it starts with remembrance. You rebuild by remembering what God said when everything else fell apart. You hold on to the last words spoken in faith until it becomes the next chapter lived in victory. Every broken wall you're standing before is waiting for that kind of faith. The faith that doesn't ignore ruin but speaks life into it. The prophet Nehemiah knew this. When he saw the city in ruins, he didn't run. He wept, then built. That's the pattern of restoration: compassion first, construction second. You've wept long enough. Now comes the rebuilding. As declared in the book of Isaiah, chapter 58, verse 12. Your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age-old foundations. You will be called repairer of broken walls, restorer of streets with dwellings. That's who you are becoming: a repairer, a restorer, a rebuilder of lives and legacies. Where others saw endings, you will create beginnings. Where others spoke of loss, you will speak of resurrection. God didn't allow you to experience devastation just to survive it. He allowed it so you could guide others out of it. You have walked through ruins long enough to know that restoration is not quick. It is patient work, stone by stone, prayer by prayer. It takes time to rebuild trust, to mend hearts, to restore hope. But you are equipped for this. Every hardship taught your hands how to build with care, how to hold fragile things without crushing them. You've learned that rebuilding doesn't mean recreating the old. It means designing something stronger. Some walls were never meant to be rebuilt the same way. God tears down to realign, not to erase. What He restores often looks different, but it's always better. Sometimes restoration happens in silence. You will see no applause, no recognition, no confirmation, just the slow returning of life to places you thought were beyond repair. The quiet victories will speak louder than the loud failures. You will wake one day and realize that peace has returned where panic once lived. That's when you'll know the rebuilding is working. The ruins you stand among are not your grave, they are your garden. New things grow where tears have watered the soil. Hope sprouts where surrender has softened the ground. That's how restoration begins, not in strength but in softness. God is building something living from what looked lifeless. You may not see the full picture yet, but heaven is smiling over your effort. Every act of kindness, every prayer whispered over someone else's pain, every time you chose to help instead of hide, those are bricks in the wall of redemption. You are rebuilding something eternal. And when fatigue whispers that you have done enough, remember that your hands are not building alone. Heaven builds with you. Every motion of obedience is matched by a motion of grace. Every word of encouragement you release sends ripples into eternity. You are not just restoring others, you are restoring yourself with each act of love. The world may not understand your calling. They may see you picking up pieces and think it's foolish work. But the Spirit within you knows the truth. The greatest miracles happen quietly. You don't need a crowd to confirm what heaven has already blessed. The ruins around you will not remain ruins for long. Foundations are being strengthened. Hearts are being renewed. Dreams are being rebuilt. And when you look back, you will realize that every season of breaking was preparation for this, your season of building. So take your tools of faith, hope, and love and begin again, one prayer at a time. One step at a time. What was once broken will soon stand tall. What was once lost will live again. And you, chosen one, will be known as a restorer of what others thought could never be restored. There is a weight that comes with glory, a heaviness that not everyone is built to carry. You've felt it, haven't you? The pull between destiny and difficulty. Between promise and pressure. The greater the calling, the deeper the refining. God doesn't prepare His chosen ones with ease. He prepares them with endurance. The weight you carry isn't punishment, it's purpose pressing itself into your soul. It's the holy tension between where you've been and where you're going. You've been stretched, tested, and pressed beyond what you thought possible. And yet, every time you thought you had reached your breaking point, grace strengthened you again. That's not coincidence, that's divine craftsmanship. Gold is heavy because it's pure. Glory is weighty because it's real. You are being filled with something eternal, and eternity is never light. The oil that flows from your life comes from crushing. The wisdom you now walk in was paid for with pain. You've carried crosses that few ever saw, and that's why your crown will fit perfectly. It was measured by your suffering. The writings of the Apostle Paul in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, remind us of this mystery. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. That verse doesn't minimize your pain, it redefines it. What you call affliction, heaven calls alignment. The weight of glory isn't a burden, it's a confirmation that heaven trusts you with something valuable. You've proven that you can carry what others would crumble under. Every trial was a rehearsal for responsibility. Every delay was discipline disguised as waiting. God was strengthening your shoulders to bear the future He's building for you. The anointing you carry requires capacity, and capacity is built in hidden seasons. The pressure that once felt unbearable has become proof that you are ready for more. There were moments when you asked, "Why does it hurt this much?" The answer was always this: because what you carry matters that much. The deeper the wound, the greater the flow of grace. Pain has been your tutor, teaching you humility, compassion, and balance. You've learned how to bend without breaking, how to shine without boasting, how to lead without losing yourself. That's the secret of glory. It doesn't make you louder, it makes you lighter inside. True glory is quiet power, not public applause. It's walking through fire and coming out carrying peace. It's the ability to smile even when the world doesn't understand the cost of your endurance. You've seen how pain purifies and how suffering sanctifies. You no longer despise the process because you've seen its purpose. You understand now that being chosen means carrying weight others don't see. You've learned to balance spiritual depth with earthly grace, to walk with confidence yet remain humble. And though you've been misunderstood, misjudged, and underestimated, you kept walking anyway. That's how you know the glory on your life is real. It didn't come from people's praise, it came from heaven's fire. The more the world pressed against you, the more your spirit expanded. What once crushed you now crowns you. This weight of glory doesn't isolate you, it identifies you. It marks you as one who has been refined, one who carries revelation instead of resentment. When others see your peace, they won't understand the battles behind it. But that's the beauty of divine strength, it hides the scars under the shine. The weight you carry is not meant to break you, it's meant to balance you. It grounds you in humility while lifting you into authority. You've learned to walk with both feet on earth, eyes on heaven. That's the posture of the chosen. And here's the quiet truth: the heavier the glory, the softer the soul. You've become gentler because you've seen too much pain to be careless. You've become wiser because you've lived through what others only preach about. And you've become unshakable because you know the foundation you stand on cannot fail. The season ahead will reveal what all the wait was for. You'll understand why the tears had to fall, why the silence was necessary, why the stretching didn't stop. You'll realize that God wasn't trying to crush you. He was increasing your capacity to carry more of Him. So don't despise the weight you feel, it's the sign that you are trusted. Glory always settles on the strong and the surrendered. You are both. You've carried it well. And soon, you will see why heaven chose you to hold so much light. The sound of heaven is changing around you. You can feel it, a new wind rising, gentle yet strong, moving through the places that once felt dry. It's as if creation itself exhales in rhythm with your heart. The waiting has turned into awakening. What was once still now stirs with divine motion. This is the season when heaven begins to announce your name, not to exalt you, but to reveal through you. You are not being elevated for applause. You are being positioned for purpose. The years of hidden work, the nights of silent prayer, the quiet obedience when no one was watching, all of it has been forming a message that can no longer stay buried. You've been tested with loss so you can speak about restoration. You've endured silence so you can teach others how to listen. You've walked through rejection so you can recognize the pain in someone else's eyes. Everything that tried to silence you only shaped your sound. You are now the voice heaven uses to remind others that hope is still alive. It's happening quietly, but you can feel it favor rising like morning light. Doors are unlocking not by effort, but by alignment. Opportunities are seeking you because heaven has placed your name in the atmosphere. The same places that once dismissed you are now making room for you. The rejected stone has become the cornerstone, as revealed in the scroll of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. That's the declaration over you right now. Rise not in pride, but in purpose. Shine not for recognition, but for reflection. The light you carry was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to heal. The world needs your radiance, the warmth of your story, the glow of your endurance, the spark of your faith. Now imagine your light stretching outward. Every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every message like this one, it's a ripple in the river of restoration. Each time you engage, the river widens, more hearts are reached. So, if this message touches your spirit, let that ripple move through you. Like it, as if lighting a candle in your window saying, "Hope lives here." Share it, not for attention, but to send a spark into someone's darkness. Subscribe, not for content, but to remain part of a family of flame souls burning bright together in faith. And if your heart feels stirred to go deeper, you may also choose to give. Your donation is not obligation, it's overflow. Think of it as watering a garden that you've already tasted fruit from. Every drop keeps the soil fertile for others who are still waiting for their first bloom. Your giving becomes the oil that keeps the lamp burning through the long night. It's not transaction, it's transformation. You're saying, let this flame travel farther. Let someone else find warmth in the light that once saved me. And there's one more way you can let your heart speak. Leave a comment below, just one heartfelt sentence of gratitude or hope. Picture it as planting a seed in sacred soil. Every word grows into encouragement for another traveler who will one day read it and breathe again. You are not required, you are invited. The act is yours. The choice is holy. Whether you like, share, comment, subscribe, or quietly give, each gesture is another beam of light escaping into a weary world. Together, they weave a tapestry of grace, simple, luminous, unstoppable. So, follow the whisper within. Let your generosity of words, of time, of heart be your offering. The beauty of it is this: when light is shared, it never divides, it multiplies. You've carried this flame long enough for it to grow. Now, let it breathe beyond you. Like, share, comment, subscribe, give. Each act is a note in heaven's symphony. A quiet yes that tells the world the chosen still shine. Every small action you take becomes a spark in the divine mosaic of light. You may not see its reach, but heaven measures its radiance. What leaves your hands in faith never returns empty, it always finds a heart in need. Your like becomes a whisper of agreement. Your share becomes a bridge for hope to travel farther. Your comment becomes a seed of healing. And your gift becomes rain upon dry ground. Each act carries eternity within it. You're not supporting words, you're sustaining souls. You're keeping the flame alive for the one who feels forgotten, the one still standing where you once stood. That's how divine compassion multiplies. So let the circle stay unbroken. Keep the flame alive, keep the river flowing. Light calls to light, and in that exchange, the world grows warmer, one willing heart at a time. There is a stirring in the unseen, a movement you can't yet name, but you can feel it. It lives somewhere between your ribs and your spirit, pulsing like a quiet drumbeat. You've sensed it for a while now. that gentle urgency, that holy restlessness whispering. Something is awakening. It's not anxiety, it's alignment. Heaven is gathering its remnant, the ones who refuse to give up when it would have been easier to disappear. The ones who chose conviction over comfort, truth over convenience, obedience over opinion. You are one of them, the quiet warriors, the hidden flames that darkness could not extinguish. You have always known that your life is not random. Every delay, every disappointment, every detour has been training for this moment. God has been forming a remnant, a generation of the steadfast, the ones who can carry weight without breaking and walk through fire without losing tenderness. You are part of that remnant. You are one of the reasons hope still has a heartbeat on this earth. For too long, the world has mistaken silence for weakness. But silence is where strength learns to breathe, in the unseen hours. When no one else believed, you stayed faithful. That quiet endurance has written your name into eternity's plan. Heaven counts on souls like yours to keep light alive when the world grows dim. The writings of the prophet Joel, chapter 2, verse 28, describe what is unfolding now and afterward. I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions. That promise is not distant, it's happening here, now, within and around you. The Spirit is being poured out again, not just on platforms, but on ordinary people who have extraordinary faith. You don't need titles or stages to carry His presence. You are the stage, you are the vessel, you are the message. This is the era of the remnant, the quiet ones who are rising with conviction, carrying compassion like armor and humility like a crown. They don't seek power, they release peace. They don't crave attention, they carry presence. And though the world overlooks them, heaven calls them essential. You've been prepared for this. The sensitivity that once made you feel fragile is now your discernment. The ache that once made you retreat is now your authority. Every wound you endured has turned into wisdom, and every scar is a signature of divine endurance. The remnant is not defined by number, but by depth. It's a small company with massive impact, people whose prayers shake unseen foundations, whose love breaks spiritual droughts, whose worship shifts the atmosphere of entire rooms. And whether you realize it or not, your presence changes things. You walk into chaos and bring calm without saying a word. You stand in storms and silence them by standing firm. That is what chosen remnants do. The world may mock faith, but the world also trembles at it. True faith has a fragrance that darkness cannot mimic. It smells like surrender, like peace after a long night of tears. You carry that fragrance now. It follows you because you have walked with God through fire and rain. Soon, there will be a gathering not in the way people expect, but in the Spirit. Hearts like yours will begin to recognize each other, drawn together by divine magnetism. There will be no hierarchy, no competition, only unity in purpose and purity in power. The remnant doesn't march with noise, it moves with knowing. And in this movement, you will see miracles woven into the ordinary, not flashes of spectacle, but steady streams of grace. People will find healing simply because they stood near your peace. Hope will spread quietly, invisibly, irresistibly, like light finding cracks in a closed room. Do not underestimate what you carry. You are not a bystander in this generation, you are an answer. Every prayer you've whispered, every tear you've shed, every act of love unseen by human eyes, they are threads in the great tapestry of revival. You are the remnant rising, the bridge between old promises and new beginnings. You are the sound of heaven's heartbeat in human form. And though the world may not recognize it, All of creation already feels your presence. The shaking you sense isn't destruction, it's awakening. The foundations are moving so new structures can stand. The light within you is expanding to reach those who have forgotten their own. You don't need to push it, just let it flow. Heaven has already anointed your existence. This is the hour of the remnant, small in number, mighty in spirit. Chosen not for comfort, but for cause. And when history looks back, it will remember not the noise of the crowd, but the quiet strength of the ones who refuse to let the flame die. There comes a moment when the noise quiets, when striving ceases, and the soul finally understands why the road had to be so long. You're standing at that threshold now, the meeting place of endings and beginnings, where everything that once broke you begins to make sense. The dust has settled, the storm has passed, and what remains is the truth: you were never rejected, only redirected. You can look back now without the sting of bitterness. The people who left, the opportunities that closed, the prayers that seemed unanswered, all of it was working together like threads in a divine tapestry. What looked like chaos was careful design. What felt like failure was formation. Heaven wasn't ignoring you, it was incubating you. You've walked through fire and rain, and yet, your spirit still carries fragrance not of smoke or sorrow, but of sanctification. There's something about surviving that changes the way light sits on your skin. It's softer now, wiser, more certain. You don't glow because everything went right. You glow because you finally understand that even in what went wrong, grace was there all along. The sacred writings of Romans, chapter 8, verse 30, speak a truth that now unfolds within you. And those he predestined, he also called. Those he called, he also justified. Those he justified, he also glorified. That's your journey from calling to crowning, from breaking to building, from pain to purpose. You've been justified not by perfection, but by perseverance. The same God who called you in the shadows is now revealing you in the light. Every battle you endured was training for triumph. Every no you heard became the boundary that protected your yes. You thought you were losing, but you were being positioned. Heaven was ensuring that when you finally stood where you were meant to stand, your heart would be strong enough to stay there. You are walking proof that divine timing is never late. Look how everything fits now, the seasons of silence, the years of stretching, the moments that made you question if God still saw you. He saw every step. And while you doubted, he was designing. The detours were direction. The waiting was wisdom. Now you are no longer the same soul who began this journey trembling. You are steady, anchored, unafraid. You've learned that faith is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward in spite of it. You've learned that surrender isn't giving up, it's giving in to grace. You carry something unbreakable now. It's not arrogance, it's assurance. You know who you are because you've met who he is. You've seen his mercy rebuild what your mistakes tried to ruin. You've felt his faithfulness cradle your weakness. And you've discovered that when you lose everything you thought defined you, you find what truly does his presence. That's the inheritance of the chosen ones, not material crowns or fleeting applause, but peace. Peace that doesn't depend on circumstance. Peace that endures. Peace that whispers. Even here, I am still held. And though the world may never understand your journey, it will feel your impact. Every word you speak, every gesture of kindness, every breath of faith, it all carries the echo of what you've survived. You are no longer just a story of pain. You are a prophecy of perseverance. You have become the embodiment of Romans 8:28 in motion, that all things truly work together for good. You've learned to trust the unseen author of your destiny. the one who turns every wound into wisdom, every valley into vision. So walk forward now, not as the broken, but as the rebuilt. You've been reforged in the fire of faith, and your scars have become the script of strength. You don't need validation. Your survival is your verification. The world that once rejected you will one day recognize you not because you sought attention, but because your transformation will be undeniable. Your peace will speak louder than your pain ever did. Your joy will testify louder than your tears ever could. You were chosen for this exact moment in history to be proof that rejection cannot cancel redemption, that pain cannot silence purpose, that darkness cannot defeat the ones marked by light. You are the living evidence of divine choice. So, as the chapter closes, lift your eyes. You've walked through the valley, climbed the mountain, and now you stand on holy ground. This is not the end, it's the unveiling. The world may have rejected you, but God has crowned you before all creation. You are the unstoppable chosen, called, refined, and radiant. The story isn't over, it's only beginning. And now, as the final words rest gently on your spirit, pause. Let them breathe through you. This isn't just the end of a message, it's the beginning of remembrance. You've walked through revelation, through pain, through promise, and you've discovered the sacred truth: you were never forgotten. You were always chosen. If these words have reached something deep within you, don't let them fade into the noise of another day. Like this message is a quiet way of saying, "This light lives in me." Share it so that another soul, wandering through their own valley, might stumble upon the same spark that found you. You can also comment, even if it's just one line from your heart, something you've learned, something you're releasing, something you're reclaiming. Words have wings, and yours might be the one that lands softly on a stranger's broken spirit. And if you feel the gentle whisper to subscribe, follow it. Not for obligation, but for connection, to stay part of a stream of hope that flows quietly but endlessly. Each story shared, each message spoken is another drop in the river that carries light to unseen places. Finally, if your heart stirs to give, let it be from joy, not pressure. Picture it as planting a single seed in fertile soil. You may never see its bloom, but someone somewhere will stand in its shade. Every act of generosity keeps this light burning, reaching hearts you may never meet but have already touched. So, as you close your eyes and let peace settle over you, remember you are not the audience of this message. You are its continuation. Carry the light, pass it on, and let the chosen rise through you.